Friday Night Football on PlayOnSports.com. It's the PlayOnSports.com pregame show live for you folks here in Orland, California, just 25 minutes or so west of Chico. I'm Matt Mellinger alongside my partner for tonight's game, Nick Dobis. Playoffs start tonight, and I couldn't be more excited for it. The 8-2 Orland Trojans play host to the 7-3 Wheatland Pirates. Orland coming into tonight's game confident, to say the least, after winning their fifth straight game last week against Winters, scoring 42 points and only allowing 6 points. The last time these two teams met was 2 weeks ago, and it was all Orland. They won their fourth straight game by a final score of 48-20, shutting Wheatland out 21-0 in the fourth quarter alone. Certainly they know this game won't be an easy matchup this time around. This is what the whole season is for, playoffs. And what a way to begin the playoffs, at home in front of your fans on a cold fall night. This is what football's all about, right, Nick?
Absolutely, man. And I'll tell you what, tonight we have a special matchup between the unstoppable force, between the immovable object. Orland 5-0 at home this season, averaging about 3 points a game, that defense at home, while the Pirates 5-0 on the road, conversely, averaging just over 45 points a game on the road, so something certainly has to give tonight. As you said last time, the Orland Trojans kind of ran all over the Pirates late in the fourth quarter, so they're going to really have to lock down that running game, set the edge, and keep those running backs contained. If you're Orland, you want to win the time of possession, keep the ball, force Wheatland to work from a long field, and we'll see if they can get a good drive starting here on this kickoff.
And Wheatland will be kicking off to the Trojans to start the game here. They'll take the ball from about the 25-yard line, right in the middle, taken down at about the 35 or 36-yard line. We'll get our first look now at this Trojan offense.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen at home, keep your eyes open for Zach Garzoli. This guy has been on a tear the last 3 weeks. 160-yard rushings and 3 touchdowns against the Pirates a few weeks ago, and has scored at least 2 touchdowns in his last 3 games. So he's the hot running back right now, and they're going to need him to be hot in this cold weather tonight in order to win.
Yeah, and Orland quarterback Jordan Long leads the Trojans into action. This season he's completed 47 of 85 passes for 744 yards, along with 111 carries for 341 yards. Quick pass there to start the game. Completed downfield to Kavi Ram. And this is a guy that we're going to be calling his name a lot tonight.
Yeah, calling his name a lot, but wasn't expecting it right there, and I don't think the Wheatland defense was either. Expecting heavy running, but they come out throwing, and first down of the game goes to the Trojans.
So usually a predominantly high-powered running offense.
Yeah, Jordan Long does love that pump fake, though, to the outside, so they obviously got the Pirates with it early.
The first run of the game, up the middle, good for about 4 or 5 yards.
You know, if you're this Wheatland defense, you're really going to be looking for Tristan Avila and Jordan Sampson to have a big game. They had a good job stalling the Pirates had a good job stalling the Trojans' running attack on the inside last time they met. But what happened late in the fourth quarter is they really started to hit that perimeter, and that's when the Trojans really ran away with it. So if Tristan Avila and Jordan Sampson can have solid games on the outside, stopping that running power attack, setting the edge, and making Long and also making Long and Tyler Batchelder uncomfortable in the passing game, I think the Pirates have a good chance of winning this one.
You know, they don't often like to go to the air. Like I said earlier, 47 out of 85 passes on the season. They like to run the ball a lot and spread things out, and we'll certainly see that here a lot tonight. Perfect play to start the game. A big bomb downfield to Kavi Ram. That's the perfect way to get things going. Wheatland just took a timeout there. So certainly the Trojans have something working for them right now.
Yeah, Jordan Long, if he would have hit his man in stride, probably would have been a touchdown indeed. So big play for the Trojans, almost kind of a missed opportunity at the same time. But this is an offense that likes to be patient, work its way down the field, and eventually get its 6 points. So let's see if they eventually get those right there.
2 receivers to the far side. He's going to throw again over the middle, just out of the reach of Tyler Batchelder.
Yeah, it looks like they had the one-on-one matchup they had on the outside. Just the timing on the play was a little bit off, and Long couldn't hit his man in stride. But nice play call there.
And that was a nice look there, too, over the middle. Had his man beat by at least a few yards. So 3rd and 6 now for the Trojans. Long in the shotgun. Play action right there. Pitch off to number 15, Kavi Ram. Able to pick that ball up.
That was a beautiful play there by Kalan Hasty, coming from his defensive line position, forcing Long to make the bad pitch and forces the Trojans into an early 4th down situation. And a big decision here early for Coach McDonald.
They're looking at about a 4th and 7 now. Rom in motion again. Play action pass. Pass over the middle. Complete to number 6, and he gets to within the 5-yard line or so.
That was actually number 8, Aldrich Rosas, who's essentially the glue of this team right there, making a big catch on 4th down. And it gives his team some life here and gives them a 1st and goal.
So 1st and goal from the 6-yard line.
Yeah, Aldrich Rosas not only is it the starting safety, but had 93 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns the last time they met the Pirates. Is really just an overall critical piece of this Trojan team.
You know, so far for this Trojan offense, it's been all air. There's a quick pitch to the outside. Kavi Ram is actually going to be taken down for about a yard or 2 loss. So I'm surprised. I mean, I have not seen this team yet until tonight. But it looks like they're very confident in that in that passing game. You know, you hear so much about how, prominent they are on the ground, and it's interesting to see how they're going to the air here. Shake things up for this Wheatland defense that prepared for this running game. Quick pass over the middle to the back of the end zone, and he will be out of bounds. Kavi thought he had it there, but he was just a few yards out of the back of the end zone there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Long's arm is completely warmed up, because that's the kind of the 2nd or 3rd ball that's kind of sailed on him early in this game. Had his man open in the back of the end zone in the crossing route, and he just ran out of real estate at the end. But as you're saying, it is kind of surprising to see him throwing the ball, but when you're playing such a familiar foe, especially in the playoffs, you kind of want to bring something different in the game just to shake it up.
Especially for a team that's been, prepping all week for this run game. And they're going to take a timeout there. That's a good call on a 3rd and goal from the 7-yard line.
Just a little bit of a preview here of the other Division II games, playoff games we have going on tonight. Number 1, Sutter, undefeated Sutter, is playing Wairika. This game, of course, Orland. Number 4, Orland versus number 5, Wheatland. Number 3, West Valley is hosting number 6, Lassen. And number 2, Central Valley is host to Live Oak. So, as we were talking about, Orland loves to run the ball. Central Valley loves to run the ball. Division II loves to run the ball. And whoever runs and obviously Sutter has probably the most feared rushing attack in this Division II. And I honestly think whoever can run the ball and stop the run will end up winning this division title.
This is my first Butte View Division II league game, or playoff game, so I'm in for a nice treat here.
Yeah,
especially since I didn't get to see him during the regular
It's a little
season.
bit older school football than we've seen in most of the Division I schools, but you know what? It's smash mouth, it's good defense, good family fun, and overall.
Quick handoff there up the middle. He's going to find a hole and run his way in for a score. That was Zach Garzel, number 33, the 5'8" senior, doing his thing.
Yeah, it looks like for the most part, Orland was trying to test the perimeter most of the time, but they just hit him with a haymaker right up the gut with Garzoli, and he makes the first reservations for 6 in this game.
So with 9:52 to go here, the Trojans strike first on their first possession of the game. There's a nice high kick there. That'll be good for the extra point.
Yeah, high, nice kick is what you'll be seeing out of Aldrich Rosas most of the game. This is a kid that set the Northern section record in touchbacks last year with 56. And I'm not sure if I know him and Coach were gunning for the North State longest field goal record of 58.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this kid's got a boot, and he's either going to be going on to play at the next level, either in football or at soccer as well. Still kind of deciding there, but he is Aldrich Rosas, though, is a big part of that secondary for the Trojans. Can do a lot of things on offense, hurt you many different ways, and is also just kind of the spiritual leader of this team as well. So he also needs to continue to have a big game tonight if they want to be successful.
And if you're the Trojans, you really want to take it to these guys quick and hard. You're at home in front of your fans. First round of the playoffs. You know, this could be the last game most of these seniors will play in their lifetime. So, you know, I can't stress enough how important this game is.
Well,
for these guys.
Yeah, both seniors on both sides are going to do whatever they can to make sure that's not the case. But beautiful first drive there. Trojans throwing out some different wrinkles that maybe the Pirates haven't seen yet this season, and obviously they're going to have to go to the drawing board and make some adjustments on that. So we'll see what this Wheatland offense can do on offense now.
Nice hard kick there. Bounces into the end zone. The refs are going to call that a touchback. That was Austin Cooper, who wasn't happy that the refs called that one dead.
Yeah, man, I think the big guy who needs to have a big game for the Pirates tonight is Jackson Hopking. This young man had 249 yards and 3 touchdowns passing in the losing effort to Orland, but he's going to have to really facilitate that offense and find some big plays with his receivers in order to shake the Trojans' defense, which has been pretty stingy, especially at home all season.
And it was just 2 weeks ago when these two teams met last. So look for things to get going right off the bat. There's a quick pass out to number 88, Mike Woods. Gets forward for about a yard.
Yeah, that was Michael Woods, who did have a 78-yard touchdown reception to start the second half between these two teams last time. So they're going to need him to get going a lot earlier than that.
The Pirates are looking at about a 2nd and 9. Man in motion. Handoff right up the middle. That was Mark Campos on the carry. Gets a few yards. Bringing up a 3rd and about 6. So certainly this is the way the Trojans wanted to start on defense. They're looking at a long 3rd and 6 here to start.
Yeah, good start, good solid tackling. You know, it's always kind of hard to make those first tackles in the cold weather like this. You know, I never really liked hitting guys in this cold, but good to see them flying around, and they're going to have to make a big play here on 3rd down.
Man in motion. Hopkins scrambling around, gets one, throws that one just out of bounds. Was looking for one of his guys on the sideline over there.
Yeah, it looks like they were trying to hit Mike Woods in the seam route down the middle of the field, go for the home run early. But the Trojans secondary, which was kind of plagued by this Pirate offense last time they played, had that nicely covered, and it looks like the Pirates might be forced to punt the ball here.
Isaiah Smith back to receive this punt. A little bit of miscommunication with his other. Mersha Rosas.
Yeah, it looks like Mersha should have just gone out of Tristan's way right there. His teammate was not too happy about that, but luckily it didn't result in too much of a folly there, and the Trojans get the ball back here.
With pretty nice field position. They'll start on the 47.
Looks like we're going to have our first penalty of the game here, Matt.
Aldrich went in motion, but there was a false start on one of the Trojans, so that'll move them back 5. And those are just playoff jitters.
Well, yeah, you're a little nervous first round of the playoff. You're facing a familiar foe, and you want to make that big play extend this to a 2-score game, but just got to keep your head in the game and stay focused.
So 1st and 15. Rosas in motion. Quick handoff up the middle. Stopped there. Jordan Long faked the handoff and kept it himself. Gets taken down for a loss of about 3.
Yeah, beautiful play there by number 68, Andrew Gonzalez, blowing off his block right there on the defensive line position and sniffed that play out pretty quickly for negative yardage.
So a 2nd and 18 now for the Trojans.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to get the ball to Kavi Ram here. They're definitely their big threat receiver.
There he goes in motion. Jordan Long giving some pressure, taken down for another big loss. That time he loses about 10 yards.
Loses about 10 yards, and Trojans are losing a little bit of that momentum they had cooking earlier in this game. Offensive line getting beat 2 consecutive plays.
That was a great job by that defensive line to get in there and bring the quarterback down for a loss.
Yeah, I think the Pirates might have dialed up a little bit of a blitz as well. I didn't really couldn't see that till the very end, but it forces a third and I-5 right now for the Trojans.
Rom in motion again, fakes a pitch, rolling out to the far side. Throws downfield, just out of the reach of his receiver. Trying to see what number that was. Number Arturo Ornelas was the intended receiver.
Yeah, and it looked like Jordan wanted to throw that. He had that route in his mind the entire time, trying to hit, nice streak route. Pirates had that covered nicely downfield, and it's going to force the Trojans' first punt of the game.
That was a great job by that defense of Wheatland. And a nice kick there. Takes a nice big bounce. Down to about the 31-yard line or so. So that's a nice confidence-boosting defensive series right there for the Pirates.
Yeah, not only do they know that they have strength on their interior, but Coach McDonald for the Trojans knows as well. Coach McDonald, after that win, told the Appeal Democrat that they were stopping us in the middle inside during the last game against the Pirates, so they bounced it outside on them, and that was really make the difference in this game. So let's see if the Trojans, the next time they get the ball, they try to work that perimeter again in order to get the running game going.
6:23 remaining here in the first quarter. Nice handoff there. Takes it to the outside, gives him a stiff arm, but still able to drag him down at about the 30-yard line. That was Garrett White with the carry.
And that was Charlie Tice, my man Charlie Tice, roaming from his linebacker spot to make the nice tackle. Last time I saw these Trojans was the Battle of the Axe against Willows, and he had 2 critical interceptions that really changed the complexion of the game. So not only is he a solid tackler, but he's quite the ball hawk at the linebacker position.
2 men in the backfield. Handoff right up the middle, gets about 4. And Austin Cooper, the junior, we'll be calling his name a lot tonight.
Yeah, this is almost a very similar down and distance that the Pirates had on their 3rd down. Now they tried to hit the home run play to Woods. See if they try to go with a more conservative pass play just to move the sticks.
Hopkins rolling out, giving some pressure there. Able to find a man there for a first down. Runs out of bounds at about the 49-yard line. So that's going to move the chains. That was number 25, Garrett White.
Yeah, and beautiful play design there. Obviously, Orland was worried about the deep ball there, sent all their men deep, and had the flat wide open for White to pick up the sticks. Beautiful play call there by Coach Stinson.
So 1st and 10 for the Pirates on the 49-yard line. Handoff there, hit hard.
Oh, mama.
That was Victor Rigoza with a huge tackle.
Yeah, Victor Rigoza is also another key element to this defense.
I heard that hit from up here with my headphones on.
This young man had 7 solo tackles and 8 assisted tackles and a fumble recovery last week during winter.
Wow.
So he has really come alive towards the end of the season.
Certainly a guy that likes to get in on those plays. Hopkins, quick pass over the middle, just in and out of the hands of Khalil Collier.
And there's once again Charlie Tice, the disruptor in that linebacker spot. Wasn't really in the best position to make the play, but his athleticism made up for it to make the incompletion. Nice play. And it looks like the Pirates are really trying to stretch out this Orland defense, trying to unstingy that running defense.
So they're looking at a 3rd and 6 here with 4:30 to go. Quick out pass in and out of the hands of Collier again. That pass was a little high, so that'll be a 4th down. And they're most likely going to kick this one away.
Yeah, I would say it might be a safe call here to kick this one away. Orland has only really operated well due to the great field position they've had this game with their one drive. So I would say, force the Trojans to, move the ball down the field. And it looks like they're actually going to go for it here. Well, playoffs, baby. You got to go for it, I guess.
Can't hold anything back. Collier in motion. Hopkins rolls out. Hits Collier and hit hard there. They will not convert. And that'll be a turnover on downs.
And ladies and gentlemen, you just saw the Charlie Tice these last few plays. Once again, making his presence known to the Pirates, blowing up that play and not letting him get anywhere close to the sticks, forcing the turnover on downs.
Charlie Tice, the 5'9", 190-pounder senior, getting his nose dirty. Quick handoff up the middle, cuts it back inside. Great run there, picks up about 15 yards.
And that's really what makes Garzoli so dangerous. He's got the same size as a lot of backs in the northern section, but he's got incredible vision, which a lot of other running backs don't. Very nice vision to cut through the tackles and make the first down.
And he had a whole sideline, this near side of the field open to him, but he cut it back in the middle. Able to move forward for another nice gain of about 5. There he is again, up the middle.
Yeah, I think the Trojans are trying to catch the Pirates napping early in this game in the passing game, but they do need to get back to that running game. Last time these two guys played, Pirates gave up 556 total yards. 500 of those were on the ground. So Orland knows the secret to victory here tonight, and that's just to keep it on the ground.
So a 2nd and 6 now. Rahm in motion. Handoff up the middle, taken to the outside. Still on his feet. Down the sideline, gives a nice stiff arm there, and dragged out of bounds at about the 18 or 19-yard line. And how about Garzoli?
Garzoli he's got some nice blocks up front. But a lot of other running backs might be not as patient and might try to cut it up. He stays with his blocks and finds the first down.
And this is that running game that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and that's going to be the Trojans' 3rd first down in this first quarter. Which is exactly what you want if you're Coach McDonald.
Garzoli again up the middle. Picks up about 4 or 5. 3:15 to go here in the first quarter in cold Orland, California.
Definitely our coldest game so far this season. Everyone here is definitely bundled up, got the double layer of blankets, and that's true football weather right there.
Absolutely, once it gets to November. Jordan Long up the middle, gets about 2.
Yeah, Jordan Long usually doesn't get a ton of yards in this game. I believe he only had 42 yards rushing the last time these two teams meet. But if he stays disciplined to that option read and can really sell it really well at times, and every once in a while he can break it big. So keep an eye on that later in this game.
He has 111 carries on the year for about 345 There's another burst up the middle for Garzoli. Gets about 2, so it'll be a 4th and about 3 or 4.
It'll be interesting to see here. Yeah, it looks like they might be sending out Aldrich Rosas, to kick the field goal. This kid has had a pretty steady leg most of the season.
He's looking at about a 32-yard field goal here. Yeah. And beautiful, right down the middle. Tack 3 points onto that score. It is 10-0. Your home team Trojans on top of the visiting Wheatland Pirates.
And that's what's unique about having a kid like Rosas on your team, who can easily, nail most of those field goals, where a lot of other programs don't have that luxury. Maybe forced to either go for it on 4th down right there, but just extend the lead to 2 scores.
And I'm new to these Division I or Division II games because I do a lot of the Eastern Athletic League of the Northern section, and a lot of times you don't see teams kicking field goals, and this is a first for me.
Well, I know a lot of teams like Paradise and Enterprise. You see a lot
kind of like this.
Yeah, you see a lot more touchdowns in that league, but Aldrich Rosas is definitely the real deal when it comes to the kicking game.
Austin Cooper and Demaine Tanner back to receive. Nice high kick there. And that had the distance to get through the uprights.
Yeah, as I said, an entertaining kid to watch kick. I dubbed him earlier this season La Bota, or the boot. And he certainly does have a boot.
Aldrich Rosas almost just nailed a 70-yard field goal on the kickoff.
And that could come in key later in this game if it does become a close ball game. It's nice to know you have that cannon where you can just lob some artillery from deep.
Handoff there taken by Austin Cooper. Gets pushed out of bounds at about the 22-yard line. Gets about 1.5 yards. So 2nd and 8-ish.
Yeah, and if you're the Pirates here, there's no need to get too anxious here. Yeah, you're down by 2 scores, but you still have a lot of football left. What's important now is, you've had some opportunity in the passing games. Maybe instead of trying to go for the home run, maybe try to hit some singles and doubles and just work your way down the field.
55 seconds to go here in the first quarter. Man in motion. Taken there, up the middle by Garrett White. Able to get a couple.
Yeah, the Pirates try to go with a little misdirection, counter play. But the Trojans defense foiled those plans pretty quickly. It's going to bring up another 3rd and manageable, the longish for the Pirates.
And 20 seconds remaining in the first. Men in motion. Hopkins scrambles, throws downfield, unable to connect with his receiver.
See, and that's another example of what I was talking about there. The Pirates are trying to go for the big play, trying to go for the long passing play. What that does, though, is not only does it give the secondary time to recover on those routes, but it also gives that defensive line more time to go after the quarterback, thus throwing, forcing a bad pass right there.
He was trying to hit Jordan Sampson as he was already out of bounds.
Yeah, let's see if the Pirates next time maybe try to shorten up that passing game, because they got the athletes and the speed to get behind the Trojans, but it hasn't really worked out for them yet.
Nice punt there, giving some problems. And the Trojans able to get on top of that ball.
Fortunately, we're able to get on top of that ball. That's the second kind of miscommunication between the two returners right there, and that's going to be a little bit of a cause of concern for Coach McDonald.
Hopkin with a nice high punt, allowing his guys to get downfield and, shake that play up. And 1.1 seconds to go here. Long in the shotgun. And an anxious Pirate defensive line. Encroachment.
Probably just anxious to move to keep themselves from getting cold on the field. I'll tell you what. But, yeah, I mean, obviously as a player you don't think about the weather too much, but, little things like that can throw off your mental game, and that leads to mistakes like that.
And again, another bit of movement.
Well, you can blame the cold once, but you can't blame it twice right there. You just got to keep your eyes on the ball, wait for it to move, and that's going to give the Trojans more yardage right there, and another first down.
So first down earned without a snap. So it'll be 1st and 10 from about the 44-yard line. Look for a long pass downfield with only a second left on the clock. Rom in motion. Long back to pass. Looks over the middle there. Finds Aldrich downfield.
Yeah,
excuse me, or was that number 9? That was Mersha Rose, his brother.
That would be Mersha. And the two Rosas here giving the Pirates fits early here. Yeah, they can use those two guys in a lot of different ways in this offense, and the Pirates are going to have to talk about it here at the end of the first quarter in order to stop this drive. So kind of an interesting strategy here for the Trojans starting off trying to throw the ball, catch the Pirates, snapping, not see if they're ready for that in the game plan. Kind of worked on the first play, not so much the rest of the plays, but they were able to move the ball nicely down the field in the running game. I still really think that the Pirates have some opportunities in that passing game if they can just shorten it up, give that offensive line a chance, and give his quarterback some reasonable time to throw as well.
So that was a nice pass over the middle to end of the first quarter. Gives them a 1st and 10 from the 35-yard line. Long throw downfield. Finds a man. Oh, wow. That was a great pass. So that'll be a 1st and 10 from about the 11-yard line.
Great pass and fantastic catch by Aldrich Rosas. That's a tough catch for a young kid to make over the shoulder like that. Stayed focused on the ball, watched it all the way in, and gives his team a first and looks like, close to 1st and goal.
And he caught that over the shoulder with one of those net guards, too. So I'm pretty impressed by this young man.
I don't know how he saw over that cowboy collar, but he did. That was impressive.
Quick handoff there by Garzoli. Shakes a couple defenders and keeps going to about the 5-yard line.
Yeah, and that's the wrinkle I was telling you about with Rosas. Not only can he rush the ball, but he can run nice routes, and he's a big target out there, almost like leaking a tight end out of that little wingback position. And not too many smaller cornerbacks can keep up with that.
Certainly using his size to his advantage. So 2nd and 4 for the Trojans. Man in motion, quick pitch to the outside. Cuts it back into the middle, finds a nice hole there. And will he be in? And just short of the goal line. Gets it down to within the 1-yard line.
Short, but not due to a lack of effort right there.
1st and goal from the half-yard line.
Aldrich Rosas is definitely a workhorse, and try to get every yard there tooth and nail. Just came up just short.
I'm very impressed with his play so far tonight.
The Pirate defensive line has really got to get low, fire off at those knees, and try to push this Orland offensive line back.
And there's a nice touchdown there. It's a quick run right up the middle. Nice touchdown by Orland. That'll bring it to 16-0.
Nothing too tricky right there. You're on the half-yard line. Just put it right up the middle.
Another nice kick by Rosas. And 17-0. The home team Trojans on top.
Yeah, it's a very critical time for the Pirates right now. Down by 3 scores. You know, you're able to get away with not converting on first down, only down by 2, but with that touchdown, it kind of forces the Pirates' hands to come up with something here.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be too spectacular of a play. Obviously, a big play would be huge, but obviously you got to find some points on this drive if you want to shift the momentum in this game.
Noah Gilmore and Austin Cooper back to receive this kickoff.
Yeah, I think the Pirates will be lucky to see any of these kickoffs fielded this evening.
Let's see if Aldrich can kick this one through the upright this time.
There was one time when he kicked the ball in the Anderson game where it seemed like a little bit of like a lob or a chip shot, and it did catch them off guard. And Orland almost did get the ball back, so that might be a wrinkle we see later in this game.
And that'll be another touchback. You were certainly right. He does have a boot on him.
Wait, let's see if the Pirates can shorten up their passing game here a little bit. Try to dink and dunk the Trojans down the field in order for some points.
So if I'm Jackson Hopkins, I'm telling my guys, hey guys, settle down, let's go. You know, it's playoffs. Let's get something going here. Let's hit them. 2 men in the backfield. Handoff there up the middle. Tackled by a bunch of Trojans.
Yeah.
Gets forward for about 5 yards.
And I think balance is something that this Pirates team needs to find, too. This is a team that averages roughly 370 total yards a game. Mm-hmm. They only had 40 yards rushing in that loss to Orland last time. So if they want to be successful, they have to find a way to, you know, find a way to even it out on the ground and in the air.
Man in motion. Hopkins, the handoff. Nice run there. Picks up the first down.
A beautiful misdirection play there by the Pirates to get the Trojans looking the other way.
Great job there by Garrett White.
Yeah, he's had a very nice game so far for these Pirates. Very nice run to, you know, trust his block, kick it to the outside, and pick up the Pirates' second first down of this game.
Austin Cooper, number 27, the other running back, now in. They're going to give White some time to rest after that nice run. Hopkins, quick strike there, finds a man. Open, still on his feet. That was Jordan Sampson. Great job there. Able to make a couple defenders miss, and he gave Aldrich Rosas a nice little punch there.
Yeah, and that's the advantage of shortening up your passing game a little bit. Gives the quarterback a little bit of time to throw that ball, and you get to find those gaps in the zone. And
that was a nice little slant route there.
Yeah, nice little slant route. Found the gap in the zone. Receiver, Sampson, was able to break some tackles, and, hey, sometimes if you throw those short passes, they end up being big plays like that, and it was definitely a big play for the first down.
And that's going to be enough to make the Trojans take a timeout here with 9:25 to go in the first half. So there we go. That's good to see them get something going here.
Yeah, that's definitely something that needs. Gives Hopkins a little bit more confidence back there in the pocket, and gets this Trojans defense thinking a little bit more too. PlayOn Sports is on Facebook and Twitter, giving you news and information and links to great highlights. Follow us at PlayOn Sports on both Facebook and Twitter. You can also access thousands of live and on-demand games on YouTube and at youtube.com/PlayOnNetwork. Keep up with all the high school sports action every week from your destination for high school sports, PlayOnSports.com.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Quick pass there. And they're going to be taken down for a loss. Austin Cooper unable to get forward for positive yards. Got hit almost immediately, and they're going to lose a yard.
Yeah, that little flare pass is something they've been trying early in this game, and it hasn't really been working out. I don't know if they're trying to set up something later in this game for that, but the speed of the Trojans' defense has shut that down pretty nicely.
Hopking back to pass. Has time. Throws a strike intended for Jordan Sampson. Threw that way short.
Yeah.
So a 3rd and 11.
Yeah, threw it short there, but he didn't really have much of a man open. And that was the difference that we've seen between these shorter passing plays and these longer passing plays. With those longer passing plays, the Trojans have had a chance to recover and get on their men, whereas the shorter passing plays, the Pirates have been more successful because the Trojans haven't had a chance to read. So let's see what the Coach Stinson, these Pirates, dial up here on a critical 3rd down in this game.
8:45 to go here in the second quarter. Collier in motion. Hopking back to pass. Finds a man for the first down. So there we go. That short passing game is going to really pay dividends if they can maintain that momentum.
Yeah, very nice throw right there, and very nice recognition by Jordan Sampson to realize where the out-of-bounds line was, just keep his feet in, and pick up that first down indeed. It looks like, yeah, they did give it to him. And the Pirates only 1 first down in the first quarter, now have 3 on this drive, so you can kind of feel a little bit of other momentum starting to cook in their kitchen a little bit.
1st and 10 from the 25. Quick handoff up the middle. Still going. Able to get about 7 or 8 on that. You know, we thought he was down, then you see him leave that big pile of people and get forward for a few more.
Yeah, just kind of kept his legs churning right there. Picked up some extra critical yards. And this is a situation that the Pirates haven't seen too often. This is a 2nd and short situation, which really opens up the playbook, especially down here by the goal line. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to take a shot at the end zone here.
2 men in the backfield. Blitz shown by the Trojans. Nice hole up the middle. That was Austin Cooper. Gets to about the 3 or 4 yard line. Gets hit hard. Fumbles the ball. Able to fall right on top of it.
Yeah, nice little belly dive right there just to hit the Trojans with a jab and pushes them closer to the goal line and gives them a 1st and goal at about the 4 yard line. Very nice
job.
play call.
Nice job by the Trojans. Or, by the Pirates. Pushing the Trojans deep. And not much there. Mark Campos didn't have much going there for him on that one.
Yeah, the Pirates try to hit the Trojans on the weak side of the formation again. That's what really opened up that last running play. And the Pirates were able to stay home and force a 2nd and very short here on this goal line situation. And as I said before this game, this is where the immovable object in the Trojans has met the unstoppable force on the road for the Pirates, so it'll be interesting to see who gives here.
2nd and goal from the 4 yard line. 7 minutes to go here in the second quarter. Sampson in motion. Stopped again. Garrett White with nowhere to go. And that's unfortunate. You know, they make all these first downs and get something cooking here on the, short. And that's 3 straight plays of just nowhere.
Yeah, and Ben Howard with a big stop right there has been a plague to these Pirates defense. He was double-teamed early and often by the Pirates the last time they met, but he still registered 8 tackles, 3 of those for sacks. So he is a force on that goal line and something that, a person that the Pirates need to keep a special person of interest.
Sampson in motion. Rolling out right. And unable to complete it to Sampson. So that'll bring up a 4th down. What do you do here on 4th and goal?
Well, it's kind of an interesting situation. Obviously a touchdown here on 4th down would really change the complexion of this game. But you are in a very makeable field goal range, too, to bring it back to a 2-score game, making a touchdown, very interesting later in this game. So, you're either a field goal or a touchdown would be nice here. It really depends on the kicker for the Pirates this evening, how comfortable they are with him kicking this little short field. And it looks like the Pirates are going to take a little bit more time to think about it.
Yeah, that's a good call there. You're already down by 3 possessions. So 6 minutes to go here in the second quarter. Wheatland calling a nice timeout. Give them some extra time.
Yeah, I think if you're the Pirates and you're going to go for it here, it's got to be a quick pass. Obviously, the Trojans have proven themselves in the red zone here by stopping the run. I don't think you're going to fool them again with that quick dive play to the weak side. So I think the best chance is put the ball in Hopkins' hands and try to get a quick pass to the outside, not let the Trojans have time to react to it, and see if you can steal a touchdown here.
Mm-hmm. And this is where that Pirate offensive line really needs to step up. They've allowed 3 plays of, just yardage loss. Hopkins giving some trouble there. Throws across the middle, almost picked off by Rosas.
It looks like it's not going to matter because it was a holding call, so Trojans are going to get the ball back here. It looks like the Pirates try to take advantage of the wide side of the field, rolling men in the back of the end zone, but it was just way too crowded by so many Trojans in the area. And Hopkins tried to thread the needle, but couldn't sew in a touchdown right there, and it's going to be a Trojans ball.
That's just unfortunate for that series for the Pirates.
Yeah, it could have been a really big play there to get the Pirates back in this game. Now, Orland, you have to recognize you have a chance here to really march the ball down the field and put a lot of pressure on the Pirates to come up with something miraculous to get back in this game.
The O-line really let him down on that one. Quick run up the middle. Picks up about 6 or 7.
Yeah, as I said, as the Trojans just grind it on the on the ground. Talk about 2-minute warnings all the 2-minute drills all the time. The Trojans need to run a 5-minute drill right here, just moving the ball down the field nicely, maybe taking your shots if they're there, but just try to milk this clock and extend your lead before the half.
Not much going there. Great job by the Pirate defensive line to stop that one.
Yeah, that was Noah Gilmore coming up from this linebacker spot. It's so hard to tackle a guy like Garzoli because he's, so low to the ground naturally. But Gilmore was able to drop his legs right there and really force the running back back. Nice tackle.
So 3rd and short now for the Trojans. Pitch to the outside. Able to get the first down.
Yeah, we might be bringing this one back, though. That flag was thrown early, and it might have been the wide receiver caught with his hand in the cookie jar right there with the holding penalty.
That was Tody Landaverde. Can't really tell the number from up here who that was, but that was a nice run. Unfortunately, it's going to be called back for holding.
Now this is kind of a curious time here for the Trojans. You felt pretty comfortable, very confident getting the ball back and had faith in the offensive line, but now you're facing the third kind of third and longish here. It might be giving the Pirates the ball back unless you come up with something here. That also helps too.
Yeah, that's the third encroachment by that Pirate D-line tonight. So that 3rd and 8 will be a 3rd and 3 now.
Yeah, and that's going to be the 4th penalty of the game for the Pirates. And when you're playing a tough, good team like Orland, you can't give up penalties like that.
You can't afford to, down by 3 scores. Long with a quick handoff there, right up the middle. Able to get a first down.
Yeah, that penalty really changed the complexion of that series right there because the Trojans were facing a 3rd and long, and a simple encroachment penalty made it 3rd and 2, and they were able just to give it to Rosas up the middle, pick up a very easy first down.
That was the big man, Benito Garcia, their fullback.
Oh, excuse me, Garcia, my bad.
Able to pick up the first down. Long back to pass. Finds a man open on the sideline. Able to get the first down. That's Arturo Ornelas with the reception.
The one thing I notice with Jordan Long this season, he always kind of has slower starts to the game. It takes him a little while to get going, but once he kind of finds that rhythm with his receivers, he can really be a dangerous threat in the passing game.
There's another handoff up the middle.
If you're Coach McDonald here, you're not necessarily thinking of touchdown. Obviously, every coach dreams of touchdowns, but when you got a kicker like Rosas, if you just get this, get another 30 or 35 yards here, you're well within his range of kicking it and just extending, the score a lot more. And that's how Orland really puts a lot of pressure on these teams, because if they get good field position, they're pretty much a scoring threat in a lot of different ways from 50 yards in.
Rom in motion. Option out to Rom and hit hard. They read that play the whole time, and you were talking about Jordan Long using his, just football sense to know when the right time to pitch the ball and when to take it himself, and there's a great instance of that right there.
Yeah, that play was kind of sniffed out either way by the Pirates. He made the nice pitch right there, but kind of put his man in no man's land
jeopardy
right there and forces the Trojans into a 3rd and long.
That was not a good decision.
So we'll see what Coach McDonald does here at 3rd and long with about 2 minutes and 39 seconds left in the half.
Folks, be sure to stay tuned for the PlayOnSports.com halftime show at the conclusion of this quarter. We'll get a quick break and then bring you guys some of the scores from around the league as well as digest this game so far. I think this is some good action, good Division II action.
Yeah, this quarter has kind of blown by here a little bit because of a lot of the running games that we've seen from both teams. Now we'll see if Wheatland comes out, with their own little 2-minute drill here and really, gets back in this ball game.
And Rosas is going to kick this one away on 4th and 12. Nice high kick there. Fair catch called at about almost bobbled that one.
Yeah, it looks like he might have lost it a little bit in the lights right there. Nice high kick by Rosas. Still gives the Pirates very manageable field position here. And let's see if they can get a big score to make this a very interesting ball game heading into the half.
So 1:40 remaining. Pirates will have a 1st and 10 from their own 29-yard line. So, yeah, I'm interested to see how this hurry-up offense will go. Given some pressure there. Hopkins takes it himself, dragged down from behind. There is a penalty on that. I think it might have been a face mask. Jackson Hopkins not liking that one. That is a face mask. And I could tell immediately when he stood up and looked at the ref, signaling for the face mask.
And I think that's an element of the game. Him breaking the pocket and getting out is something that he might need to do a lot more in this game,
Absolutely.
especially if they're trying to roll him out. He looks like a very athletic kid and can, take it on the run, and that really can force the pressure on the Trojans secondary. So let's see if he can find some options downfield. If not, take it himself.
Back to pass. Throws that one just short of Jordan Sampson, who had no chance on that one.
Yeah, it didn't look like looks like Hopkins never really got his feet set on that one and to deliver a nice ball. But it's a quick pass that stops the clock, and they still have an opportunity here on 2nd down.
2nd and 10 from about the 46-yard line. Hopkins drops back, giving some pressure there. Throws that one nearly. Oh, man. That was bobbled, tipped. He threw that one as he was getting pulled down. Interesting.
That was a nice play there by 76 Ben Howard. Once again, being a ruckus on that offensive front line. Forces Hopkins to almost throw. Very, very bad interception right there, which would have given the Trojans tremendous field position with about 80 seconds left.
So 3rd and 10. Hopkins giving some pressure there. Throws that one towards his own sideline.
Yeah, it looks like they were trying to fool Ben Howard right there with the run action away, but Ben Howard stayed disciplined, kept his eyes on the quarterback, and made him throw a bad ball right there. Nice play by Howard.
So 4th and 10 with 1:15 remaining here in the first half.
And this could be a very big play here. So obviously, if the Pirates pick up the 1st down, they stay alive, but if they don't get this, Orland's going to be licking their chops with that field position.
1:15, there's still plenty of time. And sacked right there. Great job by the big man, number 61, Arthur Flynn, to get in there on 4th down and get that sack.
Yeah, and this front 8 for the Trojans has really been they've been lights out like they've been lights out all season at home. Coming up with a huge stop here. And now Jordan Long in this offense has plenty of time and plenty of great field position to work with here.
Especially with 1:08, you can get a lot going. Jordan Long in the shotgun. Fakes the handoff, takes it himself up the middle. And stood up somewhere around the 32-yard line. Picks up about 8 or 9.
Yeah, we were talking about Jordan Long making the mistake in the last series with the pitch, but makes a nice read right there. A lot of focus on Garzoli. He was able to pull it out and nearly pick up a 1st down.
So 2nd and really short here. A timeout will be taken by Wheatland. And that's fortunate for the Trojans because that'll stop the clock, which is now at 37.
Yeah, if you're the Pirates here, I think you're taking that timeout because you need to dial up some sort of turnover here, either with some sort of blitz package or some sort of coverage that really fools Jordan Long. And you got to be thinking strip the ball because within about I mean, Rosas can make it from here. He's not 100% from this distance, but you know he's got the leg to do it. So if you're Pirates, you have to be thinking some sort of turnover to keep this a 3-possession game.
And you know, this certainly isn't the scoring match that we saw the last time these two teams met. You know, certainly a different dynamic and feel to it. And, you know, both these schools have really small rosters, and that sort of plays into it, you know, this late in the season.
That's right.
You know, the Trojans only have 26 men on their roster, and that's certainly going to...
That definitely certainly affect your play calling as well.
Hanoff up the middle, finds a nice hole there. And he's in for the touchdown. Wow, is that a fast run by Garzoli.
Beautiful.
Holy moly, touchdown Garzoli. Makes the score 23-0.
34-yard burst there by the little man. And he had a nice hole in the left side where you could drive a nice Vespa through that thing. And Garzoli, I don't even think was touched on his dance to the end zone. And that's almost a backbreaker for the Pirates.
And that kick is blocked, actually. That tipped off of one of the Pirate players and nearly went through the upright just now.
No, I think I heard him call bank on the field.
I think
if he would have called bank, it would have gone in and would have been good. Wow. But you certainly don't see that every day. The untraditional bank shot off the helmet.
So what was okay, so on that last play where Garzoli ran it in for the touchdown, a bunch of those D linemen jumped. And fortunately, the Trojan offensive line did not bite on that.
No, yeah, they didn't really, jump on the flitch. And sometimes the defensive lineman, if you jump off, you're also out of position too. So Trojans took advantage of that, got the defense off the ball, and like I said, I don't think Garzoli was even touched on his run to the end zone. So, Wheatland's going to have to find a way in the second half to really lock in their focus, really limit those silly mistakes that they've been making, and try to find something on offense to get this team going. Because I don't think their defense has necessarily played too bad of a game. It's just their offense has really missed out on two key opportunities in this half.
Unbelievable discipline by that Trojan offensive line. Not to bite on it, like you said.
Yeah.
Because then they would have to stop the play, and that play might not have ever happened. A little bit of trouble there on that return. Great job there by the Trojans.
If you're Coach Stinson, obviously you want to make something happen here with 25 seconds, but I would almost, want to say count your blessings and be thankful that you're down by only 23 points. You don't want to give up some sort of silly turnover here and give the Trojans another scoring opportunity.
So with 25 seconds to go, we'll see what these Pirates can do. Handoff up the middle. Stopped almost immediately.
And it looks like that's very likely the last play of this half.
Mark Campos ran directly into that defensive line. Folks, that's going to do it for the first half here in Orland, California. The score, 23 Trojans and nothing for the visiting Wheatland Pirates. We'll take a short break and then bring you guys a halftime show next here on PlayOnSports.com. Whew. PlayOnSports.com. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All righty. And what an interesting first half of play here in Orland, California. The home team, Orland Trojans, on top 23-0 over the visiting Wheatland Pirates.
Yeah, if you're the Orland Trojans at home, the beat goes on. Certainly their defense, anchored by Charlie Tice and Ben Howard, have really, limited the Pirates to their options. Now, that doesn't mean that the Pirates have had opportunities. They had an opportunity to score on a 4th and goal situation. He elected to go for it instead of the field goal, and the Trojans were able to hold them off. I do think, though, we did see some bright spots in the passing game with the Pirates in those short to medium range passes. They've been trying to go for the home run ball, but I think if they can establish some balance, get that running attack going, and keep hitting those medium passes, they can find some chunks down the field and really make this an interesting game again.
And Garrett White and Austin Cooper are the two running backs that stand out to me the most for the Pirates. Two guys who have gotten a majority of the carries tonight. Having a bit of trouble, but, not to discredit them. I think it's more of the offensive line having a bit of their issues. I think just as a team, they really need to, pick things up. Otherwise, like I said earlier, this is going to be the last football game for a lot of the senior players tonight. And, if you're going to lose a game, you got to go out on top, do it for pride. Not to say that the game isn't over yet, but.
No, the game's not over yet. We got a second half, and the Pirates are getting the ball back to start the second half. But it's going to be a critical first series here for the Pirates. They really have to find a way to get on board. And I think, what happens in this first series will really dictate how the rest of the half goes. And hopefully, it turns around for the Pirates. But if you're Garzoli, this is your 4th straight game with at least 2 touchdowns. He's also had a fantastic game for the Trojans so far.
Certainly has, along with Aldrich Rosas, the kicker, fullback, free safety extraordinaire. This kid is quite the player.
Yeah.
You've seen him before. I have not, and just what a treat. This guy's all over everything.
Yeah, he is surely a treat to watch. Now, just to update you on some scores around the Division II, currently Sutter is leading Wairika 28-0, and West Valley has a slight margin over Lassen 7-0. So it looks like Sutter, barring the miraculous, will end up most likely winning that game in Wairika, which will force a rematch of last year's Division II championship between Sutter and Orland if they too hold on to win this game, which would be quite the smash mouth football game in my opinion.
And we're getting a look now. The clock just ran out, but now we see the Wheatland team coming out of the locker room over there just a little bit late. I think that's okay. The referee signaled an extra 3 minutes.
So, yeah, it will be interesting to see if Sutter can hold on against Wairika. Wairika does have a very capable dual-threat quarterback, but it looks like that Sutter defense, which has also, just like this Trojans defense, has been playing pretty much lights out this entire season. It looks like they're keeping him at bay right now. But obviously, that rematch would be up in Sutter between Orland and Sutter would be quite a treat in the Division II playoffs.
And you've seen those two when they played each other this season, correct?
I have not. I personally have not seen Sutter, but our other broadcaster, Frank D'Arienzo, has seen Sutter play a couple times, and he was really impressed with that team when he saw them. Very big offensive line, very physical running game, and a very stout defense. Let me see if I got some numbers with them on the season. Sutter is 10-0 this season, an offense that averages 46 points a game, and a defense that gives up only 9.4 points a game. And this is also a team that knocked off Enterprise 34-27, which, for you Division I fans, is the #1 seed who will be playing next week. So Sutter is the real deal.
Wow.
They are the real deal. And it would be, if the Trojans can find a way to, add to the lead and hold on, it's going to be quite the clash of the Titans next week if we can get that rematch.
Here, I just got a score update from my friend TJ, working one of those games. And it is 14-0 West Valley at half. So,
okay, so and that's another team. I think West Valley, Matt, is a real dark horse in this league. You know, I saw them play against Corning last week, and Corning obviously having a somewhat of a down season, but I really like the speed of their defense. They fly around really hard, and they have a couple running backs that can really run the ball very well too. So I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, West Valley kind of sneaks out of the bottom half of that bracket, maybe surprising whoever the winner of that Central Valley Live Oak game is and finds their way into that championship game. So, but that's all, you know, very far ahead right now. Right now we just have a second half of this game to worry about.
Certainly excited to get it going here. Austin Cooper and Domain Tenor back to return the kick to start the second half of action here in Orland, California. I'm Matt Mellinger alongside Nick Dobis for a chilly fall evening of football here. We thought we were going to see some rain earlier, but unfortunately fortunately, the system moved just south.
Yeah, it would have been kind of fun to see a little, you know, mud football here, but I don't think our equipment would have left it too
no,
much,
certainly
though.
not.
Yeah, as I said, this is a very, very key possession for the Pirates here. They can find a way to score a touchdown. That might just give them the juice to fuel a comeback.
So Aldrich Rosas will be kicking this one off to get things going. This second half is underway. Nice high kick there. He'll start from about the 2 or 3 yard line. Cuts back up into the middle, still on his feet. Taken down at about the 28 yard line. So here we go. I can't stress enough for the Pirates how important this is to, you know, get some points on the board.
Yeah, and then, you know what, they don't need something right now. Obviously, the clock isn't exactly your friend, but you've been trying to go for the home run ball game, and it hasn't been given to you. So, you know, work that running game a little bit and try to, you know, dink and dive it down the field.
Man in motion. Takes a handoff to the outside, bounces off a defender, picks up about 5 or 6. That's Garrett White. And we've called his name a lot, and he certainly is one of those backs that's not afraid to get hit and also to give a hit, too.
Yeah, he's not a very big guy, but as we said, he's not a guy who's afraid to get his nose dirty and finds a nice little hole to the left side right there to give up a very rare second and short for the Pirates.
So 2nd and 4 now. Man in motion again. And there's the ball's loose. Excuse me. I was like,
and looks like
that was Austin Cooper.
Yeah, it looks like the Pirates just did get on top of that. It looks like maybe Charlie Tice might be a little shaken up on the play right there. Forcing the fumble with that hit. Might be forcing an injury upon himself playing that hard.
Austin Cooper was hit from behind and fumbled that ball. Unfortunately, they were able to get that ball back.
Gives them a first down, though, which is something they definitely needed right there.
Handoff up the middle by Austin Cooper. Good for about a yard. You know, that was very fortunate of them to be able to fall on top of that ball.
Yeah, and we'll see. Charlie Tice sat out that play. He might be sitting out this series. He looks like he's okay, but hopefully for the Trojans, he can come back in this game. He is a monumental part of that defense.
There you see him down on the sideline. Nice design play there. Unfortunately, White unable to find anything going there.
The one thing I love about Ben Howard is not only is he a big force in the middle, but he's a guy who's got a motor that doesn't stop. Very nice read, able to move down the line and make a nice tackle on the other side of the field. Very nice job by the big man.
So 3rd and 9 now for the Pirates.
Looks like they're going to be coming out with a lot of receivers on that right side.
Cooper trips over Hopkins' foot. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and those are the mistakes that really kill a drive. You know, it's not, he didn't do it on purpose, but who knows where the play could have gone, but with that trip right there, it forces a punt right now.
Nice high kick there. Mersha is going to take this one. And he'll take that one down to about the 28-yard line. Mersha Rosas.
Well, you know, if you're the Pirates, you didn't get the opening drive you wanted. But as a defense, you need to recognize this is probably the most, you know, critical time, not only in this game, but for your season. Really can't allow to give up another touchdown here to the Trojans.
Nice run there for Garzoli.
Yeah, I imagine, you know, Orland's not afraid to take their shots down the field, but they're very friendly running the ball. With a 23-point lead, I think they're just going to, you know, snuggle up with that ball in the running game, try to eat as much clock and get out of here as soon as they can.
2nd and 6 for the Trojans. Garzoli in motion. Handoff there to the outside by Rom. And he picks up about 12 or 13.
Yeah, very nice play call there by Coach McDonald to go with the little reverse. Pirates defense was, you know, blitzing and rushing hard to the play side. Nice little, you know, rope-a-dope right there to send it the other way.
You know,
Picks up the first down.
It looked like Kavi Rom almost tripped over his quarterback.
Yeah,
able to maintain his footing.
Very nearly did. Yeah, very nice athletic play by him to keep the play alive.
1st and 10 from the 42-yard line. The big boy Garcia with the carry there, and that's a big boy.
That is a large boy running the ball. And we might see, you know, the Pirates really need to find a way to stay physical, because the last time these guys played, you know, it was actually a pretty close game, but it was the Orland who blew it out in the 4th quarter with their running attack, and they might be starting to wear down the Pirates a little bit once again. So the Pirates are going to have to dig deep, you know, in order to prevent that.
That's something with these Division II teams that we will see. The smaller roster sizes means, you know, it's hard to say that, you know, for guys to go a full 60 minutes at 100%, it's kind of tough.
Yeah, it's also pretty tough when the scoreboard's not in your favor, and, you know, you got the big boy like that running straight at you too.
Unfortunately, that penalty is going to bring him back. Nice play there by Kavi Rom, jumping over a defender, spinning off of a couple more guys, and able to get, you know, 11 of those yards back.
Yeah, had a very nice push.
Tell me you
on his
saw
offensive line. I did.
That was amazing.
That was a very, very incredible play right there to keep the play alive and gives them a first down. And that's just what we were talking.
Second down. There was
a second down. But, you know, makes this a very 2nd and 10 instead of 2nd and long.
You know, great job. Hopped over that defensive line, spun off of a couple of defenders there. Garzoli finds a nice hole up the middle, and he's going to take this one to the house. Unfortunately, we just saw a flag thrown in the back. That's too bad. The ref's bringing it back.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate because Pirates got, you know, nicked again with the misdirection there, and Garzoli once again not only sharing his vision but his great speed. But as you do say, it was all in vain, and it's going to be,
you know, once he gets through that secondary, he turns on the afterburners and he's just to the house. You know, that's an unfortunate holding call. I think will be, yeah, that's unfortunate.
Well, I mean, obviously with the Pirates, you're seeing a sigh of relief, but Also, you're kind of a little discouraged just giving up a huge 55-yard run play right there. Like I said, it looks like this Orland offensive line is starting to assert itself and kind of prove that they want to repeat as division champs.
2nd and 6, Kavi Ram in motion. He will take the handoff. Gets stopped there by Mark Campos. And great job by Mark Campos to read that play, break it up early before he could do some damage.
Yeah, and really broke down and made a nice form tackle right there. We've seen a lot of high tackles by some of the other Pirates so far in the second half, but that was one of the best tackles by the Pirates so far. So forces a 3rd and longish here, and we'll see what Long and his crew can do.
6:45 to go here in the 3rd quarter.
Looks like it's actually going to be a false start this time.
Yeah, see, that defensive line, they've been jumpy all night long. The Trojans have displayed some pretty good discipline until just then. I made a comment about that down on the during the second half on Garzoli's first touchdown, how the defensive line jumped and the offensive line didn't bite on it. 3rd and 13. Long back to pass. Finds his man wide open at about the 49-yard line, so that'll get some of those penalty yards back. That'll bring up a 4th and 4-ish.
Let's see if they bring out Rosas here to punt, or, if you're Coach McDonald, you might be thinking this is kind of the time where, you take the game in hand and kind of step on the Pirates' throats here and just keep the ball and milk the clock. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do right here.
I just saw Zach Garzoli come in. So 4th and 4-ish, 4th and 3. Garzoli in motion, fakes the pitch. Long's going to throw downfield here. Intercepted! Picked off by Garrett White. Still on his feet, gets pushed out of bounds around the 42-yard line or so.
Yeah, the Pirates brought the house there with the blitz. Long was able to, roll away from it with the fake pitch and out the outside, but Mr. White made a fantastic nab right there, and we'll see if that's, the game-changing play right there that really sparks this Pirates team and this Pirates offense to do something productively.
He did a great job of reading that play right there. Able to get his pick. The first sign of, defensive life for this team.
Yeah, that's exactly the play that the Pirates need right now, right there. And they need another big play right now.
Handoff up the middle. Picks up about 4.
Number 27, Austin Cooper on the carry.
That was Austin Cooper. Looks a little shaken up after that hit.
So Garrett White just helped, trying to preserve the season on both sides of the ball for his team right now. Very impressive young man.
Quick pitch to the outside. Finds a nice hole up the sideline. Spins off a defender and gets it down at about the 35-yard line or so.
Yeah, very nice run right there. Luckily, Rosas was there to make the touchdown-saving tackle, or else he'd probably still be running and celebrating in the end zone right now, but only results in a first down for the Pirates.
So the Pirates are able to get some momentum here with 4:55 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Nice run there by Mark Campos, taking that one to the outside. There is an injured Trojan, however.
Can't really see who it is right now, but
not from this vantage point. We'll let you guys know as soon as. .441 remaining here in the 3rd quarter.
We were talking about Sutter at halftime a little bit, and just comparing these two teams' performances. The Pirates, actually very similar scores almost. The Pirates lost 48-20 to Sutter, and the Trojans were, I think, besides Enterprise in Division I, gave Sutter its biggest scare with a 20-3 loss to Sutter.
Yeah, so certainly they're the team to beat in Division II. And the winner of this game will be taking them on next week. Nice blitz there. And that was your boy, number 42.
And Charlie Tice is certainly a bad man in the middle of that field and shows why right there. I mean, that's what he is. It's not – he doesn't make huge plays all the time. He's just a general disruptor, always, knock down passes, making plays like that, forcing big third downs, which the Pirates face right now.
And that was number 60, Victor Rygoza, the injured Trojan, who was able to make his way off to the sideline on his own help.
Yeah, that's a big loss. Hopefully he's not out for too long in this game or for the playoffs.
Hopkins back to throw. Throws, I'm not sure who his intended receiver was there, but the pass was short. I think it was intended for Collier.
Yeah, it just did not have enough, mustard on that hot dog to make the throw. And this is another very critical fourth down play here for the Pirates. Their defense has, they have given up 23 points, but they have still kept this a very reasonable game for its offense. Let's see if they can finally get some magic going and get a spark.
So the Pirates facing a 4th and 12 with just under 4 minutes to go here in the third quarter. Collier in motion. Hopkins rolling out to throw deep. Finds his man, Sampson. Good for the first down to about the 25-yard line or so.
I don't know how. It's talking about magic. I don't know how that ball wasn't picked off. But a nice play there by the receiver to hang on to the ball, keep his feet in bounds, and move the chains for very big first down right there.
As you've been saying all night so far, they're having good success with those short outs.
Yeah, it's just really those quick pass plays that gets the ball out of the hands early. It's not a long drawn out play, and it's very effective and picks up chunks of yards.
There's that pitch. Austin Cooper able to get about 7 or 8. That's a well-designed play. They've done that a couple times now and gotten 5+ yards.
Yeah, whenever they get, the Trojans' defense, either not set or not ready, they've been successful. It's just the more long, drawn-out plays when the Trojans have had time to read it and react is when they've been unsuccessful. So let's see if they maybe pick up the tempo here.
Quick handoff up the middle. Cooper again. Forward for a couple. Brings up a 3rd and about 2-ish. Actually, about a 3rd and 1.
Yeah, I know they love trying to roll on the wide side of the field on these third downs, but I would just say try to punch it forward once again.
So the Pirates pushing the Trojans into their own end zone. Fumbled there. Hopkins able to fall right on top of it, fortunately.
And that's kind of been the story of the night for the Pirates so far. They've had their opportunities in this game to really make this interesting. In the red zone especially, and they just basically shot themselves in the foot. I mean, tip of the cap to the Trojans' defense for keeping them out of the end zone, but, the Pirates haven't done themselves any favors so far, and they're going to need a huge favor in order to pick up this big fourth down once again.
So unfortunately, that'll move them back about 5 yards. So they're looking at about a 4th and 5 or 4th and 6.
And yeah, they're going to definitely think about it, and they certainly should.
That'll give this defense a little bit of time just to get a breather here.
Yeah, they got kind of a little banged up so far in this game. Charlie Tice came out with an injury, and Victor Rygoza also came out a little bit on some injuries. And, you know, like I said earlier, I loved football and hitting people, but I never especially enjoyed getting hit or hitting in this cold weather. It kind of resonates through the rest of your body, so maybe we're just seeing some extra potent stingers out there.
Especially with the, sweaty under jerseys. You get pretty cold, you know. Even if you come out for just a series, I mean, you got to keep yourself warm.
Yeah, so let's see what the Trojans style up here on defense to prevent the Pirates from picking up a first down. As I said, the Pirates have loved rolling out to the wide side of the field. Let's see if they do that here.
Hopkins gets rid of that one. Throws over the head of Jordan Sampson. That'll be another turnover.
Yeah, and as we said, you know, another big opportunity for the Pirates missed. You know, they had a 3rd and short. Penalty moves them back. Couldn't really do anything and failed to convert on the 4th down. And I think that's missed opportunities will be the name of the game for the Pirates.
Long in the shotgun. Quick handoff there. Garzoli to the outside. Cuts it back into the middle, still on his feet. Able to get the first down. Holds on tightly to the ball after he was given some hands there by one of the defenders.
Yeah, I mean, he is somewhat of the complete package. He's got the speed, the vision, and even the strength, not only to run it up the middle, but to hold on to the ball when he's got a big old bear arm right there about to strip it. Nice job by Garzoli, who's having, once again, another fantastic game.
Able to hold that ball, cut it back into the middle for, 5 more yards. Long's going to keep that one himself. Doesn't pick up much, maybe a yard.
Yeah, the Trojans certainly starting off this playoff here in championship form, looking for a repeat of last year's championship, and they're on a good start for that.
It's going to be difficult if they have to face Sutter, pending the outcome of this game. Nice fake there by Jordan Long. Fakes out the defense with that pitch right there.
Yeah, I don't know if it was so much a fake or he had a kind of a deer in the headlights look right there, looking for his pitch man who is not home and wasn't sure what to do, but nicely made the right decision, kept it, and pick up the critical yards.
And that worked, too. That faked them all out. Able to get forward for a couple more yards.
Yeah, that's the thing about Jordan Long. I mean, he'll make mistakes occasionally, but he never gets too rattled. You know, he's a seasoned quarterback and doesn't let his mistakes really bother him and still able to make big plays.
Rosas takes a handoff up the middle. Still on his feet after being dragged by one of the linebackers. Able to pick up the first down.
Yeah, that was the same misdirection play that Garzoli ripped off for about 55 yards that was called back. They tried to run it again with Rosas, and he was able to pick up a nice little first down. And the Pirates are just starting to get a little worn down there, especially on the front line. I think that's kind of how this Trojan team operates. They just kind of keep hitting you and hitting you and hitting you, and they just kind of eventually pound you down to the ground until you say mercy.
Handoff taken there by Isaiah Smith. First time we called his name tonight. And that's going to do it for the third quarter, folks. The fourth quarter of action right around the corner. The Orland Trojans on top 23-0 over the visiting Wheatland Pirates.
Well, neither team really drew blood in that quarter, which, I mean, for the Trojans you're not too worried about, but that's not a very good sign here for the Pirates. You're going to have kind of a comeback for the ages here in this fourth quarter on the road. In order to extend and go into the next round. Not likely to happen, but crazier things have happened in the sport of football.
Absolutely. There you see one of the Trojans getting tended to down on the sideline.
Yeah, it looks like it might be Rosas. Might be just putting some more tape on that ankle.
And he had a nice run on that last carry of his.
Yeah, it looks like they're getting Trojans are getting a little beat up. Maybe if they find another touchdown here, Coach McDonald might be thinking about sitting some of their starters, getting ready for next week.
Long with the pitch to Rom on the outside, dragged down at about the 50-yard line.
And that was just a nice defensive play there by the Pirates. Everyone stayed disciplined for their reads. No one gave up, their reads, and was able to contain the option nicely.
Nice job of the Pirates to bring them down for a loss. So they're looking at a 3rd and 9. Quick pass out to Kavi Rom. Rom gets dragged down with the horse collar, and they were able to get that call in there, and rightfully so.
Yeah, very nice play by Rom right there to kind of scoot the first tackle and finds a burst of speed to get themselves the first down. And we'll see what the penalty is here, right here, though.
So a first down and more with that penalty. A nice way for the Trojans to start this fourth quarter. For the Pirates, not so much.
No, and for the Pirates, you're looking at your 7th penalty of the game, and penalties are big any game or any level of football, but in the playoffs, that's when it can really hurt you. And the penalties definitely have affected the Pirates tonight.
Garzoli up the middle. Good for 5 or 6. And there's just no stopping that kid.
Yeah, he's a fun one to watch, and he's been a pleasure to watch once again tonight. It'll be interesting how, when they eventually hopefully hold on to win this game, how he matches up against that very big, very physical Sutter team next week.
2nd and 5. Long in the shotgun. Hands it off there to Garzoli again.
And maybe if you're the Trojans, you somewhat have this game in hand. This might be a time to kind of tune up for Sutter next week, because I think one of the big things they need to do is, I think whoever wins the time of possession in that game is going to eventually win the game. So maybe work on a little clock management here while you got some, game time
ground and
experience.
Pound, keep the clock going.
Exactly.
There's Garzoli taking it to the outside. Gets down to about the 8-yard line. So 1st and goal now for the Trojans.
Yeah, it's just that little sidestep of his that just really stupefies the defender and gives himself some extra space. And it's very unique to this Division II. You don't see a lot of athletes that can do that at this level.
Yeah, there's some good football up here in Northern California, I tell you. It's fun doing this broadcasting.
Especially in that juggernaut Division I up there. Maybe if we get a few extra minutes here towards the end of the fourth quarter, we can kind of talk about the D1 playoffs as well, because there's a lot. This might be one of the most wide open it's been in a couple of years up there. A lot of really good teams that could, knock off some of the bigger teams.
Enterprise and Paradise have a bye this week. I think Red Bluff and Shasta are going at it tonight. as well as Lassen. And there's a touchdown for the Trojans. That'll make it 29-0. Rosas is going to attempt the extra point.
And that should probably be the final nail in the coffin here for the Pirates. Unfortunately, they had a great season. It's somewhat of a shame to see it, especially how well they've played on the road this season.
You were telling me about that on the
going 5-0 and averaging well over 45 points a game on the road, but they just kind of ran into a buzzsaw with this Trojans team tonight. It was a well-coached, very physical Trojans team at that.
You know, this might be the time where maybe if you're the Wheatland coach, you put in some of the other guys, let them get some playing time, because this could be the last football some of these guys ever play.
Yeah, that might be, that very much will be the case. And as we said, this might be kind of a time for
same thing for the Trojans.
Yeah, you kind of got some key guys who are kind of banged up in this game. You would hate to see them get injured, especially when you're going to need all hands on deck next week. So we'll see what the two coaches decide here with about 8 minutes and 49 seconds left in this game. I think everyone, I don't know if the fans are standing up for the kickoff or just keep the blood flowing in your legs a little bit.
See, once we hear that cowbell, it's see people get up.
More cowbell.
Whatever keeps us warm, huh? Another powerful kick there. Nice little return there. He's able to make his way out to about the 28-yard line. So we'll see what the Wheatland Pirates do now. 8:40 to go. Wondering if we'll see some new personnel.
Yeah, hopefully they get their seniors some opportunities, just to get those non-starting seniors some opportunities to play, because it looks like this will be the last time they'll be wearing that Wheatland uniform. And I know for me, the last time I played in that game and realizing that it was a very emotional moment. So my heart does go out for those players.
And that's an encroachment there. That was Charlie Tice. He went and showed blitz and slipped. Slipped his way to an encroachment call.
Yeah, the field might still be a little slick. As we said, it did drizzle slightly before the game, so it might still be a little wet out there. Whoa.
And there's a fumble there. The pitch gone bad. Austin Cooper was unable to corral that pass in, and unfortunately, that'll bring the Trojans right back onto the field. So we'll see now if the Trojans coach will let some of these new guys come and get some time.
Looks like they're still going to keep Long in at quarterback. Like I said, that could be the one thing they could be working on, is trying to, because against a Sutter team, they are going to need to win the time of possession. So maybe try to, work on crunching a clock on a short field.
Quick deceptive play there. Coffee Romp. This kind of reminds me of, Paradise and Central Valley, how they do the wing tee offense. You got guys coming from every which way, quick dives, bellies, traps, everywhere all over the field.
Yeah, no, this is a team that can really hurt you in a lot of different ways. They try to give you some different looks, some different motions, and it doesn't really matter who it is, if it's Long or Garzoli or the Rosas. They have a lot of, they can hit you with the power, they can hit you with some speed. So it's a very dynamic offense, even though it's mostly a running offense.
Benito Garcia up the middle.
And pardon me, I forgot to mention the big Juan Garcia also, who adds another, power element to this running game. And I think, they're going to have to throw a lot of different looks and a lot of different styles at Sutter just to keep that defense off balance.
Yeah.
And I think Jordan Long's probably going to have his best game throwing of the season. You know, he only had the one interception earlier tonight, but he's going to have to play, you know, mistake-free football next week if he wants the Trojans to advance.
Kavi Ram in motion, takes a handoff following Benito Garcia through the hole, picks up about 4 or 5. There is a late flag, however.
Yeah, they've been running that. That's the other thing. Their offensive line really runs really crisp blocks. You know, the hole has always been there tonight. That's a good job by that offensive line in doing that. So the combination of that very dynamic backfield with a very disciplined offensive line makes this, you know, it's why they won the championship last year and why they are certainly in the hunt to do that again this year. See what the penalty is.
Oh, personal foul.
And that looks like to be just a pure frustration penalty right there by the Pirates. Easily understandable, but not really acceptable.
So that'll move them half the distance to the goal. Quick run up the middle. Not sure if he picked anything up on that play.
Tripped up on the play by 85, Jordan Sampson for the Pirates.
I'm trying to see who that was that carried the ball just now.
I think it was
it was
Mishra Rosas on the carry, trying to go with a little, you know, offset counter play. But I think it lost a little bit of footing and also a nice tackle up front.
and 3 guys in the backfield that time. And they certainly were not fooling that Pirate defensive line. They were able to get in there.
You know, kind of an old school T formation right there by the.
Yeah, there were 3 guys in the backfield on that one. That was interesting.
By the Trojans right there, going to the old school T look, and the Pirates, as you said, were not fooled on that one. It's going to bring up a 3rd down, but
3rd and goal from about the 5.5-yard line. 5:45 remaining here in the 4th quarter.
It'll be interesting to see what the Trojans dial up here on offense. This is also good work for them to work on, you know, the goal line situation for next week. So let's see what kind of wrinkle they unfold in their offense here.
Rosas takes the pitch to the outside. Gets dragged down about the line of scrimmage, so no gain on that one.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be bringing out the field goal unit and then probably tacking on another 3 points here by the big man.
Mersha Rosas, brother of Aldrich Rosas, will be attempting the extra point. Excuse me, the 3 points. I'm freezing.
It's okay. That's all right. I have not felt my feet since the second quarter.
You have gloves,
so.
I'm jealous. There's a great kick there. Mersha Rosas with the 2nd field goal of the night. And that'll make it 33-0 with 4:55 remaining here in the 4th quarter. And you know, this Wheatland team needs to play for pride here with these last few minutes.
Yeah, it's about all they do have left to play for, and you know, each other. Like you said, I was kind of talking about this last week up in Corning because Corning was going to be eliminated with their eventual loss, and you know, you just need to realize this is going to be the last time you put on those pads, and going to be the last time
wear
that
your
team.
High school's colors.
Yeah, the last time you're going to be together as that team ever again, as that group. So, with 4 minutes 45 seconds left, how do you want to remember it? And hopefully, you know, they get something positive together here.
It's pretty sad and emotional, you know.
It can be a very emotional experience. I guess, as I said earlier, it was a very emotional experience with me losing in the first round of the playoffs. You know, leaving a lot of what ifs behind. But you can't think about that right now. You got about 4 minutes, 45 seconds left to play with your family.
Live it up. Another good kick there. And another touchback.
Yeah, poor Demain Tenor has probably been so eager waiting for a kickoff return, but hasn't gotten one yet this game. I don't think he will get one again. So as we were talking about that D1 playoffs, as you said, Enterprise is playing, and Paradise has a bye this week. Foothill and Red Bluff, the 3 and the 6 seed, are playing each other tonight, which I think hopefully is a fantastic game. Two very good teams. And then the number 4 seed, Chico, is playing Shasta, so it'll be interesting to see who wins that game to play Enterprise. And I think Red Bluff is kind of a dark horse here, but I mean, you were up in that game. We were together in that game up in Paradise in that unbelievable epic rematch, and that's something I think all the fans are kind of looking forward to as well.
Certainly.
So we'll see if Paradise and Enterprise can find a way to run through the Division I gauntlet and fulfill destiny once again.
Austin Cooper, the handoff up the middle. We'll move the chains on that one. And I saw earlier that Chico was on top of Shasta, I think it was, 21-14. So pending the final score of that game, that should be interesting to see. Chico and Enterprise, they had a great game up in Reading, and Chico went for 2 to win the game in overtime.
That's right.
And they were unable to convert. That was a fun game that you and I did.
So if Chico holds on to win against Shasta, I mean, there could be a lot of potential thrillers in the northern section next week.
Pass over the middle, nearly picked off there. And that was, excuse me, I'm trying to find. Dominic Alves. So 2nd and 10. You know, we've seen some good games together. We did the Paradise Enterprise game.
Paradise Chico the week after that, and got a double dipping of overtime games. And like I said, I mean, usually Paradise kind of ran away with the championship last year and looked like going into the season that was going to be theirs, but like Enterprise has kind of risen up the ranks to get that number 1 spot. And there's, I think there's still like a lot of very dangerous teams, particularly Chico and Red Bluff as well. Mm-hmm. So it'll be very entertaining to see how the playoff tree shakes out. And right now I'd say Paradise is kind of my favorite to win it, and I would put probably Red Bluff as my dark horse to come out and raise some eyebrows and possibly steal away this championship. But we'll see. I guess we'll see how everything shapes up tonight, and we'll see where we end up next week.
Chico has really surprised me the most out of all these teams in the Division I Eastern Athletic League, simply for the fact that they lost Trevon Reed in the first game. I think it wasn't even a league game. It was just their first kind of whatever. They took to Daniel Robbins, the backup senior, also a senior, along with Trevon Reed, and it's just been perfect for their team. I mean, they run 2 quarterbacks now. They run Trevon and Daniel Robbins. Trevon Reed also goes in for some packages, also as a receiver, and it's great what they've got going on in Chico. It would be interesting to see them versus Enterprise or Paradise in the championship game. Nice punt there. They're going to down that at about the 18-yard line.
And what's funny, mentioning that is how those 2 quarterbacks have really not really gotten along well in the offense, but usually as a quarterback, there comes with a little bit of ego.
Absolutely.
And, when the other guy steps in and does well, it's very natural for young men to be like, oh, well, this competition, I need to do better than him now. But they've really found a way to work together well in that system to make a very potent offense in Chico. Exactly. And that's a very rare thing that you see in programs around the North State. So, like I said, that Division II playoffs have been entertaining and should be entertaining, but that Division I juggernaut should be one heck of a playoff.
And we have a new quarterback in the game for the Trojans. It's Tyler Batchelder fumbled that snap and able to run forward for about 4 or 5 yards. Brings up a 2nd and 6. Takes it himself, cuts it back up into the middle, but slips. Getting forward for, we'll see where they spot it, but it should be a first down, and yes,
yeah, it looks like they gave it to him.
So 2 minutes, 8 seconds remaining here. Going back to the Chico quarterback competition between Daniel Robbins and Trevon Reed. Trevon Reed has turned into one of his main receiving threats alongside Jesse Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and certainly we've seen Chico a couple times this season so far, and you know they can surprise people, man. I'm telling you right now.
No, I know. Like I said,
here, where's your bracket you had in front of me?
Let's see if I can dig that back out again. Yeah, I mean they're going to be facing, you know, Enterprise, who I mean can be vulnerable in the running game. Chico doesn't have too much of a running threat, but as you said, with Holmes and that dual quarterback, you know, double-headed monster, they could easily be a dark horse too to come out and steal this Division I title. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that game in Chico tonight and what happens up in Foothill as well.
You know, something we were talking about for the Chico Red Bluff game, I think it was. Enterprise beat Chico in overtime because Chico went for 2. Paradise beat Enterprise, and so we have this weird. We have this weird 3-way triangle of these overtime games being decided, you know, by 2-point conversions. And, you know, it's really interesting to see. I cannot wait. You know, I don't want to sound biased, but I'm hoping Chico beats Shasta tonight because I have not covered Shasta or Foothill this entire season.
Shasta's kind of had a roller coaster season. But they found a way to sneak into that 5 spot nicely, and I mean they definitely have the capability of giving Chico some fits. But like I said, it would be entertaining to see Chico and Enterprise meet back up.
I want that game so badly.
And you know, if Red Bluff if Red Bluff finds a way to upset Foothill, Red Bluff beat Paradise a few weeks ago, so that would be a potential interesting rematch game. So. Yeah, I mean, we could sit here and try to dream up all the, you know,
perfect
scenarios, but, you know, we're going to have to see how it all, you know, breaks down, just like that play just broke down right there.
Still able to make something happen, gets forward for a few. Brings up a 4th and about 3 now for the Trojans.
And Coach McDonald might just kind of sit on this one and bring
15 seconds left in the running clock. That's going to do it for our game here tonight. So the Trojans win by a final score of 33-0 over the visiting Wheatland Pirates.
Yeah, very bitter pill here for the Pirates to swallow, but you know they've also had a fantastic season under Coach Stinson, and you know hopefully they can get it together next year. And I mean the VU League is a very tough league with Orland and Sutter in it, and they fought very hard this season to get into the playoffs. Unfortunately, the Trojans proved to be too much at home, and that they extend their winning streak at home to 6 games, and their true winning streak right now to 6 games as well. So,
and they will be taking on Sutter next week, and that should be
barring they don't. Sutter hasn't collapsed up against Wairika, but that would be.
They should handle the 8th seed Wairika pretty soundly.
They last time we checked, they were up 28-0. So. Barring the, miraculous, it looks like we're going to have a repeat of that Division II championship game last year between Sutter and Orland, which should be a very entertaining game in Sutter. So, Matt, who would you say was your player of the game? I know it kind of got slow at the end there, but who would be your man?
I got to say, that's a tough one, man. Who are you thinking?
Well, you know what? I think, as you said, Holy Cannoli Garzoli, I think, was our man of the game.
Garzoli, certainly.
He extends his multi-scoring streak to 4 games now. Had 3 touchdowns tonight. Really, gave the back-breaking touchdowns to the Pirates when they were trying to fend him off. And if he keeps running the ball this way, they're going to have a really good chance against a very tough Sutter team next week. I mean, they're going to have to go up to Sutter, away from the friendly confines of Trojan Stadium. But if their defense can really lock it in and their offense can find the opportunities to score when they need to, then they have a good chance of pulling out the upset. But as we said, Sutter definitely is the team to beat at 10-0 right now, and more than likely moving on to 11-0.
So it should make for an interesting battle next week. Folks, thanks for joining us here on PlayOnSports.com. The final score, the Orland Trojans 33 and the visiting Wheatland Pirates 0. I'm Matt Mellinger and Nick Dobus, and we thank you for joining us here tonight.
We can get a player up here.
Oh, that's good stuff.
All right, perfect. Prepare a Wiley Ballard graphic.
Do you want me to start the stream?
Start the stream. Camera 3. Beautiful. We're coming in on 1.